Welcome to the Unlocking Senior Resources podcast by Leave the Key. I'm Larry Wagner, and I've spent 30 years working with seniors where I was a certified senior advisor, and the last 15 years in the home buying industry as a certified senior transition specialist, where I specialize in dealing with seniors going through a transition in their lives. This podcast is for seniors, those with seniors they love, and people who work in the senior community. In each episode, we bring on a guest who works to improve the lives of seniors. This podcast is your key to unlocking senior resources. Welcome to the Unlocking Senior Resources podcast by Leave the Key. I'm Larry Wagner, and I've spent 30 years working with seniors in the financial industry space, and the last 15 years in the home buying industry, where we specialize in dealing with seniors going through transitions in their lives. This podcast is for seniors, those with seniors they love, and people who work in the senior community. We bring on guests who provide important services for seniors, and today I'm with Diana. Diana, you work with Caring Transitions of Long Island.
Yes, that's correct, Larry.
Can you tell me a little bit about what you do?
Absolutely. First, I want to say thank you very much, Larry, for having me on your show today.
You're very welcome.
I really appreciate it. So, yes, again, my name is Diana Zagariello, and I own Caring Transitions of Long Island. So we are a company that helps seniors, for the most part, with the whole process of a transition, moving, downsizing, going into assisted living. We'll do the moving. We'll do the packing. We'll arrange for the movers because we're not actual movers.
Right.
We will do space planning for them if they want to try to visualize their items in their new space. We will do unpacking. So if it's a local move, we can unpack them.
Wow.
And then the biggest part for a lot of seniors, the stressful part, is, well, what do I do with everything that I left behind? Because obviously I'm moving to a smaller space. I can't take everything. So once we have moved the person or persons, we'll go back to their old space and we'll manage everything that they left behind. Liquidations, donations, giveaway, and junk removal. But ultimately leaving that old space ready to be sold.
Question for you, regarding the stuff they leave behind, how much of that stuff do you find has actual value in today's marketplace with the buyers who want that stuff already have the stuff?
Yes.
They're the people getting rid of it.
That is a very good question, because most people think their items are worth so much money. They paid a significant amount when they purchased it new, so they would expect it to be either increased in value or still quite valuable to sell. And unfortunately, a lot of stuff out there is not as valuable as you think.
Or valuable at all.
Or valuable at all. We have clients with, huge collections of Yadros and fancy crystal and Hummels, whatever, the collection was at their time. And then they said, well, we have this beautiful collection. We paid $300 for each of these. And I say, well, I'm lucky if I can get $5 for each of those now. Because the younger generation just isn't interested in collecting things.
And things, period.
Things.
Correct.
Yeah, they're not into things.
I went through this with my own parents.
Mm-hmm.
I had my parents move to independent living.
Yes.
5 years later, they both were gone.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to get rid of their stuff. And I called in specialists and had a Turkish rug. They had paid $4,000 for this Turkish rug. My daughter would never touch it because she knew it was so valuable. We ended up selling it after months and months and months for $150.
Yes.
So if my parents were here, they
just to
gasp me. I don't. I'll say thank God they don't know.
Right.
So, but it was most of the stuff in their house got disposed of. It was very unfortunate. Stuff they paid. Also, they were not Hummels, but they were Yadro people.
Right. Yeah.
We didn't even try to sell it. We didn't even try.
Did you donate it?
We donated some.
Okay. Good.
They had Rosenthal china.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody wanted it because you can't put most of it in the dishwasher.
Everybody likes disposable or put it in the dishwasher.
Correct. So, and seniors have to understand that. And I have a hard time when buying someone's house to explain, I'll get rid of their stuff, but it's so valuable.
Yeah.
And
it's a difficult conversation.
Very much.
But what we try to do is just really make it real for them.
Correct.
Say, do you watch TV? Yes. Do you see those commercials of the woman in purple? Pretty much every commercial break. It's called Wayfair. That's what you're up against.
Yeah.
The younger generation loves things from Wayfair. It's trendy. It's inexpensive.
Yep.
In 5 years, when the trend has changed, they can redecorate their whole house for very little money.
That's right.
They don't care that the furniture that you have is solid wood, made sturdy, that you paid $3,000 for it. Doesn't matter to them.
Correct.
And another interesting thing, and I don't know if you've noticed it over the years, when I first got into this business 10 years ago, when you put on HGTV, what did you see? Do you remember? I don't know if you ever watched.
I always used to watch HGTV.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. I know. I remember the early ones. They did very poor decorating work, but other than that, I can't tell you.
It was all about DIY.
Yes. That's we're on the same trend.
It was all DIY. It was all, well, how can I make this space better with my own hands?
Right.
Take a piece of furniture, learn how to paint it. Now, it's call the designer and let them do it.
Now it's all home buying shows on HGTV.
It's all home buying and interior designers, which means if you look closely at the furniture, a lot of it is Wayfair and even some IKEA.
Right.
So that's, just the change that's just in the last 10 years.
That makes sense. I never thought about the disposable nature of Wayfair and IKEA. This table here is IKEA.
Right.
It's instant.
It's instant. It's clean lines, simple, and that's what people want nowadays. They want simplicity.
Yep. So, question: how did you get into this business?
Good question. Well, like I said, it's been almost 10 years now. I am a mom of 2 kids. I have a 16 he's 16 now.
Wow.
A 16 and a 17-year-old, soon to be 18. So basically, I was a stay-at-home mom when they were babies. Mm-hmm. Once they were in school full-time, I said, I need something to do. Mm-hmm. So I researched all different business options and thought, well, okay, let's try to find something that fits my lifestyle and my personality. Mm-hmm. Found Caring Transitions. We are it's a nationwide company,
right?
So all independently owned offices, technically a franchise, and the buy-in was just correct, and the mission was what I loved.
Yep,
helping seniors, and I know it's really quirky, but it's a saying that I do say sometimes that we start with a handshake and we end with a hug because we get that close to our clients. And you probably in your industry is very similar.
Absolutely.
It's personal. What you're doing with them is personal.
Without a doubt. I always tell people who work for the money never really make the money. It's people who work for a purpose.
Right.
They're the ones who become successful.
I believe that.
Yeah.
I do believe that. Because you have to believe in what you're doing.
Yeah.
It is, I'm not saying, we're not a not-for-profit. We are a for-profit business. But at the end of the day, we can feel good about what we did.
Right. As a home buyer, I tell people all the time, our job is to make profit, but my fulfillment comes from delivering service.
Correct.
And that's what it's about. And people they get that.
They
get
do.
That. And it's very important. So you describe the services that you provide. Mm-hmm. So if you want to run through a typical appointment, you're meeting someone for the first time, what would that appointment look like?
Well, we do free in-home consults because I do need to see the home that needs assistance with. Mm-hmm. So I go, introduce myself, and then first I like to sit down and talk and say, okay, well, what's the situation? Why am I here?
Right.
Explain to me, are you moving? Was there a death? Do you just need help organizing? Sometimes it's as simple as that.
Right.
So we figure out what's the goal.
How often are people staying put when they call you in versus moving?
Not too often.
I would think not. Okay.
Most of the time it's the transition or a loss in the family.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. So then once we've discussed, gotten a good feel of, okay, what services are they actually looking for? Mm-hmm. Then I have to do a walkthrough with that in the house. Mm-hmm. And we just go from room to room and I see what's there and discuss, what do you think you're keeping? Are you keeping anything?
Right. How often are they not keeping anything? Because I see that sometimes. They want a fresh start.
It's actually, with a loss in the family, it's quite often.
Yeah.
Maybe they're keeping the photos,
Right.
a few mementos. But like you said at the beginning, a lot of people have their own homes already.
Right. Yeah.
They don't need furniture. They don't need all the big stuff. They don't want the collections.
Right.
So it really just comes down to the memorabilia.
Yeah.
So, we discuss all of that. And, I asked them, are there things you haven't found in the house?
Right.
Do you want us to look for them?
Yeah.
Was the person that lived in this house, whether they're still alive or not, did they hide things? Older people they grew up in a generation where they hid things.
Yeah. Yeah.
So do we need to be looking for things? Sometimes that is the case.
I built the furniture for my parents' house, and I built in hiding spots.
Did
so I knew where they all were. That was the good part.
Yes.
And there was stuff in there when we sold the house.
There was.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
I went to a consult once, and it was the first time I was there to actually start the job. And I said, well, have you gone through everything? Yes. Okay. Do you mind if I look in the drawers just to see what was left behind? No problem. So I open up a top drawer of a dresser. There's some hankies in there. And I pick up a hanging because I thought it was pretty. I said, this feels strange. Shake it out. There's $300 in it.
Oh, my God.
So are you sure you went through everything in the house?
We find things in houses all the time.
Yes.
We actually try to donate whatever we can because people do leave some things behind, but we invariably find money. Usually not a lot.
Yes.
But there's usually money left behind in a house.
Yeah.
But, I don't know. What happens when I sell my house?
Jewelry. Jewelry's a big one. Grandma hid all her jewelry in a shoebox.
Right.
But she had 30 to 50 probably shoeboxes in the closet. Mm-hmm. So the family, I guess, looked at a good portion of the shoeboxes and just assumed they were all shoes.
Right.
Well, we did not assume they were all shoes. We went through all of them, only to find in the back was the box of jewelry the family had been looking for.
Actually, in my father's shoes, there was money.
In his shoes? In his shoes?
In the shoes, there was money.
Oh, that's great.
I was getting rid of the shoes. My wife found it when we were cleaning out the closet.
Oh, my gosh.
So, I had a story. I mentioned I was in the financial advisory space for 30 years. One of my clients had dementia. She lived with a 106-year-old mother. And when her mother passed, she could not live alone any longer because her mother was sharp but couldn't walk. And the younger one, who was in the 70s, could walk but wasn't sharp. So together they made a cohesive person. Right. And when 106-year-old mom died, my client had to move down to Texas with her daughter and move into a home. And the daughter kept coming up on weekends cleaning out the house.
Right.
And she spends so much time. This one was a high-level person in the New York City Board of Ed, had tons of papers for her 50-year career. And she ultimately was going through all her papers. So she started, at that point, just throwing out papers in large volumes. Folders of papers in large volume. And then one day she dropped the folder after throwing out about 10 garbage bags.
Oh, no.
And money came pouring out of the folder. She said she found, after that point, she found $10,000. She goes, I have no idea how many thousands of dollars she threw out before. It was just in these, she had multiple 5-drawer file cabinets with folders filled with money in between the papers. So you never know. So the families, pay attention, look carefully.
Look carefully, just do a quick flip.
Yes.
Flip through books.
Yes.
You never know if they, hid something in a book.
My grandma used to wrap up in paper tissues her jewelry. So the tissues you would just throw out, not even nice hanky.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. So it is what it is. So you have to be prepared.
This is
why I have this podcast. There's important little nuances of things just don't know. People just don't know, I should say.
That's true.
And I would never have thought of looking at my father's shoes.
Yeah.
So,
shoes, hankies, apparently.
Yes. Tissues, look like dirty tissues.
Pockets.
For sure.
And I have not found, but I do look behind drawers in dressers.
That's
because
interesting.
Stuff can fall back there. Not that they do it on purpose, but it can just fall.
That's interesting. Mm-hmm. That's interesting. I wouldn't have thought of that one.
Yeah.
But I wonder if people put it behind on purpose too. I have no idea.
It could be.
Very good. So question: is there a funny moment that you could say you've had? I'm sure there are many. If you were to pick a funny moment, what would you think of dealing with a homeowner, dealing with a senior?
Okay. Well, I'm not going to go into too much detail, but I'll touch on it. Twice now, we have come across items that we were a little shocked by and said, you know what? That's extremely personal.
Right.
Let's put it back.
That's right. You don't want them to know you found it.
I don't want them to know we found it.
Right. Okay, we won't ask much more detail than that.
But you can
Use your imagination.
use your imagination as to where I'm going with that.
Okay. We're going to have a rating on this podcast.
Yeah.
So that's very interesting. I wasn't expecting that answer.
Right, yeah.
How about you must get compliments. You said you end with a hug. If you could pick one compliment you received from a client.
I'm fortunate in that I have a great team of employees.
Right.
And we very often get that your team is fantastic.
Right.
I couldn't have done this without you.
Mm-hmm.
You've just made it so much less stressful for me. And that really is the best compliment that we can get, because that's the plan. That's the goal. That's our job. Even in jobs where it was very expensive for them to get that compliment, because I feel bad giving the expensive bill, but they're just so happy to have had the job done. You mentioned before about the family going from Texas to New York and the time it's taking. It can easily take a family 6 to 8 months to do what we can do in less than a month.
Right.
And that is part of my sales pitch, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
And
call it your benefit.
Yeah, is that, the short period of time, if you hold on to a house for 6 to 8 months, especially here on Long Island, think of the expenses you're incurring over that course of time.
Right.
Taxes, utilities, the what ifs, the oil burner, filling the oil.
Oh, not today. It's many, close to $1,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Per tank. Yeah. So while you say, well, you're too expensive. Yeah, but you just spent $8,000 to $10,000 doing it yourself.
Yep.
I would have been less than that. Plus, I would have attempted to sell some of the things, which helps recoup some of the costs of having me involved in the first place.
That's interesting. You're offsetting some of your
Offsetting. Sometimes, depending on what the items are in the house, you could offset the entire cost.
Right.
If there's jewelry or sterling silver, that really can offset the cost of having me involved.
So when you find jewelry or sterling silver, do you bring in a specialist who buys just silver, or do you do garage sale takes it?
No, I do not bring in a specialist. What I do, it depends on the items.
Right.
If it's in good condition, then I like to put it in an online auction.
Oh, interesting.
And we have our own online auction site. It's called CT Bids. I actually have an auction live right now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a proprietary site to Caring Transitions offices throughout the country. There are 300 of us using this website. Mm-hmm. So anything of higher value and easily shippable.
Oh, interesting. That makes sense.
So those are the items I like to put in auction. We have almost 700,000 registered users on our CT Bids website, which is tremendous.
What does CT stand for?
Caring Transitions.
Oh, Caring Transitions. So obvious. I can't pronounce that. Oh, gosh.
That's okay.
There you go.
So, so it's an online auction site, and it's a fantastic way to purchase items, whether it be jewelry, collectible items, because there are some people out there that do collect.
The $5 hummels.
Yeah, they do. So it's a great way to offset costs again.
Right. That's very interesting. So, and then the items that don't go on the website, the items that are not easily shippable.
Good question. All right. So for those, I have two methods. I like to do private appointment only sales. And what that means is I take a lot of pictures, and then I reach out to my buyers and my contacts and say, listen, these are the kinds of items I have. Would you like to come on such and such a day and perhaps purchase those items? And then we arrange it over the course of a day. It's very controlled.
Right.
I don't have to man the entire house with people and do a lot of prep work prior. So it's just a controlled way to sell things.
Much more comfortable for the homeowner as well.
Much more comfortable. Especially, for me, it's the only thing I would do aside from an auction if the homeowner is still living there.
That makes sense.
So the third option is if the homeowner is no longer living in the home. And that would be a full-blown estate sale, meaning you're opening the doors and you're allowing people into the home. And when that happens, basically they look in every nook and cranny in that house. So you really want to make sure the items that want to be kept have been removed or locked away within the home.
Hi, I'm Larry.
And I'm Ben. We're the father and son team of Leave the Key Homebuyers, and we want to buy your house.
We specialize in working with seniors who are transitioning out of their homes, and we understand what you were going through.
So if you're considering selling your home and would like an alternative to the traditional overwhelming process, reach out and see how we can help.
Do you have an outdated home?
No need to update anything.
Have a home that needs repairs?
Don't bother with repairs.
Don't want to take everything with you?
Leave whatever you want behind.
Dreading the headaches that come with agents?
Sell your home without paying a commission.
Dreading prying neighbors, attending open houses, and passing judgment on your home?
No need for public showings.
When you sell to us, you'll have all the certainty of closing on your timeline, not someone else's, and there's absolutely no pressure.
Visit leavethekey.com or call us today for a no-obligation offer at 631-388-7771 if you want to sell your home today.
And those days, those kind of sales, I've seen so many. They're so hard to control. How many people do you have for a typical sale like that? I'm sure it depends on the size of the house.
It depends on the size of the house and the contents of the house, because you do some pre-sale advertising.
Okay.
So the buyers have an indication of what they're going to see in the house.
Right.
And, you have people that like records. You have people that like few people that like crystal.
Right.
You have mid-century people. Right. So if they're seeing those items in the house, they're going to come. If they're not in that pre-sale listing, they're not going to come. But when I host a sale, I try to control it, 10 people, 12 people in the house at a time. Once people start paying and leaving, then you invite more in. You have to keep it at a level that you feel comfortable that it's controllable. What's interesting about sales is a lot of people that go to these sales are resellers.
That's what I was going to ask you. Do you bring your people who sell again? And the answer is both.
Yeah.
They're professional tag sale, estate sale people. That's what they do.
Well, no. So I'm not sure what you meant by that.
It's like they do it every weekend all the time. And then I have someone down the block who does garage sales. He buys stuff and he sells at garage sales.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So a lot of the people, like even for my private appointment only sales, the people that I invite in, they are resellers in that they either have space in a local store.
Right.
Or they're selling on Etsy or eBay or whatever these other sites are there that are out there. I don't even know all of them.
Right, yes.
So that's where they're selling. So they're looking for a good deal from me.
Right.
And at the same time, I have to balance making some money from my client and making it worthwhile for me. So we have to find that perfect price.
Correct. Well, that makes sense. The tag sale business is a rough business. Do you get
a lot of people are jumping into it too.
They are. I know with my folks, I went to have a tag sale. They had a lot of collectibles, and the guy was basically offering me 50% of the take. Is that a standard or not a standard?
That's a little, well. So I'm 35%.
Okay, so you get 35% for you.
35 for me. The client gets 65.
Okay.
But for an estate sale where there is a lot of prep work,
right,
there is a flat fee on top of that.
Okay.
So perhaps the 50% wasn't charging you a flat fee.
Right.
He was just saying, I'll just take 50%.
He was not. He was not.
So that's how he was making up for my flat fee.
Correct. I ended up donating most of the stuff anyway. He felt there wasn't that much in it, which made a difference too. He'd charge less if we had more stuff to sell. We had very expensive items like that Turkish rug, but said they're not going to sell.
Unless it's an antique rug,
right?
Nobody wants it.
Right.
Like a true antique rug.
Yeah. And even then, who's the buyer for that?
I have buyers in the city.
Okay.
that buy that. And again, they're resellers.
Resellers. I wonder who their buyer is because...
I'm not sure. My guess is probably very high-end homes, people in the city, maybe interior designers.
That's probably the answer. But interior designers. That was
because I have reached out to interior designers. So if I can, sell directly to them, and a lot of them say no, they buy new. But I'm guessing for that special thing like a rug, they might go to somebody like that where it is. They know it's an antique. It's a true antique.
That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense. If there's one thing that you do most, your biggest benefit, is there a single benefit you can put your finger on that you serve to clients, or just the whole package that it becomes one big benefit?
It's really the package, I think.
Mm-hmm.
If it's a move, when they hire us to do the unpacking,
right.
So let's say they're moving into an assisted living here.
Right.
When they hire us to do the unpacking, they are so glad they did that.
Right.
And I think a lot of people that don't do that wish they had, because within 24 to 48 hours, they're completely unpacked.
Yep.
They don't have to worry about boxes or putting things away or figuring out where things go. It's done.
Yeah.
It's done. And that is a true relief to them.
How many of the clients you work with have children, obviously adult children, in the area, or are they mostly without family locally?
Most of the clients are without local family.
Okay.
Or without family.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're really on their own.
Right.
Or there are very, very few that you get where there are children locally that can't help.
Right.
But it does happen.
Right.
They have families of their own. Maybe they're small children. Maybe they have, full-time jobs.
Right.
They just don't have the time to devote to helping mom or dad with a move.
On a full-blown client with a move, with cleaning out their house and everything else, how many hours, or is it weeks, does this span?
Well, a full-blown job from start to finish, we can do within a month.
Okay.
It really depends on the needs. If it's, oh my goodness, they're in rehab right now, we got to get them into assisted living right away. Right. Then we'll have to figure out how to move more quickly on the move part of it.
Right.
But the other end of it, the clean out, the sales, the donations, that end of it, we usually have more time.
Right.
Because, selling a house doesn't happen overnight. Perhaps we need to stage the house. So we just need to go in and do some staging, decluttering, packing up some items, doing some donations, or, some disposal broken things, or things that just have been what I like to call well-loved.
Right.
And now they're done. So we can do that. And then once the house is officially in contract and we don't have to worry about it being staged, then we can go in and take care of the rest. Meaning sell it, donate it, give it away, or throw it away. So we always have time on the clean out part. Every once in a while we get that phone call, I'm closing in 2 weeks. Hey, can you help me? And then we will definitely try to help them. And if I can't help them, the good thing is that Caring Transitions is an HOI company.
Right.
So if I can't do it, I can reach out to my associate offices here on Long Island and say, listen, I have no time for this job.
Right.
Do you have time in your schedule to handle
the
it?
advantage of scale.
Correct.
Scale. The fascinating, because I work with people like you, being that I'm a home buyer, and most of the people I buy from are senior citizens going through transitions.
Right.
They're typically moving into a independent assisted or nursing home, facility, or unfortunately they've passed, and I'm dealing with the children who oftentimes are out of town.
Right.
And the house is filled with, has dark wood paneling with green stain in it to match the green carpet. And those houses are not ready for prime time, I say.
No.
And I assume that's what you deal with a lot of those.
Oh, we do.
Yes.
We do. 50 years they've been living in a house, collecting things. A lot of them grew up in an era when you kept things because you just didn't know what might happen the next day. Yep. So, I might need that, so let me hold on to it. What's interesting about the world that we're in right now is the Yadros don't sell, but the weird plastic table does. You know, the table that people think is garbage. Actually, I can sell that quicker than I can sell Yadro. So I do always emphasize, have me in before you throw anything away.
Right. Yeah.
You know, even if you don't hire me, at least I can walk through the house and give you an idea of where there might be some value.
Yeah. That's nice. You try to bring value even if.
And then say, you know what, if you want to handle this yourself, these are the suggestions I would give you on how to do it. You know, Facebook Marketplace can be a great tool. It can also be a nightmare. So just beware of that when you delve into that world. You know, I try to explain to them organizing techniques and just give them a little bit of guidance. And sometimes that alone gets people so happy with me that they'll consider hiring me because I'm not just thinking about them getting to sign.
Right. That's important. We're a service business. Even as a house buyer, I'm a service business. I'm providing something, not just buying. I'm helping you through something. Your job is only to help. You're not buying anything. You're just helping.
No. Yeah.
So it's 100% service business. And
correct.
Yeah, people go into sometimes these businesses for the wrong reason. Being in the financial world, I watch so much senior abuse by not only advisors, but by family. And that was the most offensive, which is why I asked you if they usually have local family. And you said most people don't.
Most people, yeah. And unfortunately, when there is a loss,
yes,
that can bring out the worst in people.
I was dealing with a phone call this morning. That don't go through in details, but yes, I deal with money and family, and great relationships turn sour.
Turn sour very quickly.
Mom and dad, mom or dad is usually mom, dealing with her issues. She's still alive, but who deals with this and who deals with that?
Right.
Usually there's one.
There's one who's on. It's all on their shoulders.
Yep.
And it makes it very difficult.
It does.
And then the money part is huge.
And then the ones who did nothing want the most of the money. That's what I have.
Or they want an equal share when, you know what, wait a second. She took care of mom, brought her to the doctor, made sure her medicine, and who knows what she did at home.
Gave up her career. I've seen that many times. Gave up her career to retired at 45 instead of 60 and didn't have income for 15 years. Now you need to make up for that.
Right.
The siblings don't care. So it's but getting involved in what you do, it could be very, very tumultuous. It's a rough time in their lives.
It is.
And the family's lives as well. So I give you credit for doing what you do.
No, thanks.
So question, what question have I not asked that I should be asking you that would bring information to anyone watching this?
Okay, so I'd like to reiterate that we are a nationwide company. I know this is a podcast that people could be listening from anywhere.
Correct.
So we have over 300 offices, even an office in Hawaii. So you could be moving from, let's say, New York to Florida, which happens quite often nowadays. And I can help you here in New York with the packing and the move management. And then the Florida office can meet the moving truck at your new location and unpack you. And we work together. And that happens all across the country. And again, it also with CT bids, with the auctions, these are companies across the nation using that website.
How many offices you say you had?
300.
That's a lot of offices.
Yeah, we might even have a little bit more than that. I don't know the exact number at this point in time.
And have you ever had somebody move to a location where you didn't have a reciprocal office there?
Well, unfortunately, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I assume that's the rare occasion.
It does happen.
Right.
It does happen. Most people from New York generally go south, whether it be Florida, North Carolina, South Carolina.
The occasional
and those, yeah, definitely. We have several offices in all of those locations.
Right. It's the people go to the Midwest, maybe to be with family or something.
Midwest, we had somebody go to, actually, I've had a couple of people go to Portland.
Oh.
I don't remember. We didn't unpack on that one, so I didn't have to worry so much about it.
Right.
Because they were going to be near family.
Right.
They were leaving here to be.
That's what I was going to say. Are the people going to the place where you aren't going to your family?
Generally.
I would think they go into these non-typical retirement locations.
Generally.
Yeah.
The wonderful thing is, again, we're growing as a company. So here on Long Island, I was the original office. And now within the last, I'd say 4 years, we have 5 offices
Wow.
on Long Island.
Wow.
And up in the Westchester area, I believe there are 2 offices that are going to be opening, which is wonderful because I usually get those phone calls and I tell people, I'm really sorry, but I do not cross bridges.
Right.
If you've ever been to Long Island, you know crossing bridges is a nightmare.
Yes. Because Long Island's enough of a nightmare with traffic.
We prefer to stay on Long Island or leave by plane.
That's right. That's right.
So it's nice to have 2 more offices opening up in that area. Now I need somebody that wants to open an office in Manhattan. That would be great.
That's
Manhattan and Brooklyn.
Oh, you have nobody in Brooklyn?
We have nobody in Brooklyn. And Queens, we technically have one of the new offices is covering like the Whitestone Bayside area of Queens, but there are no other offices. We'll all go into Queens,
Right.
but preferably not too deep into Queens.
Right. So your area is, where would you say you mainly cover?
Well, as an independently owned franchise office, we all have our areas that are protected, our protected territories. My territory spans from one of the Great Neck zip codes all the way to the main Huntington zip code.
Okay.
And then down south to Plainview.
Okay.
It's a pretty wide territory. I like to call it the Gold Coast territory.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
If you're familiar with that term. There are some pieces above me, the Kings Park, Center Island area that nobody has those. And basically what that means is if there is no one in a particular area, it's open to any office to manage it.
That's interesting. Interesting that those will be separated out, that they're not part of your territory.
It was just the way our corporate office designed the map.
Right. Okay.
That's all.
It's not adjacent to anything. So.
No, it's not. I think it has more to do with population.
Oh, I see.
Especially, when they were creating the map, the population in those areas was probably pretty small.
Okay. That makes sense. Okay. So if people want to get in contact with you, where would they find you?
Okay. So multiple ways.
Okay.
But the best way would be through my website. It's a very long name. Forgive us.
Okay.
It's
Say it slowly.
Caring Transitions LI.
CaringTransitionsLI.com. At least it's easy to remember.
Yes.
Okay.
Of course, or you can email me at this is a really hard one, and we should probably write it down if we have to.
We'll put in notes.
Zagariello at caringtransitions.net.
Okay.
And then I can always give out my cell phone number, but I prefer
We'll put that in the notes so
Yeah.
that way people can find it.
Yeah.
Okay. And
So
that's wonderful. Anything else you would like to say?
I think you've done a pretty good job of covering it. The only, the thing that we didn't touch on
Go ahead, please.
was with the process of getting rid of people's things. People have a tendency to contact me to just sell their things.
Right.
And our mission at Caring Transitions is we're not an estate sale company. We are a company that focuses on what is your goal? What is your need? Your need is to move out of this house for whatever reason or to clean out this house. Mm-hmm. So what's our toolbox? What are the tools we're going to use to do that?
Mm-hmm.
Sales is one of the tools. But the other, we do a lot of donations. Mm-hmm. And, some people, well, I want to sell everything. Well, not everything necessarily is sellable. So are you going to pack it up and donate it? That's something we can do for you. We can pack it, arrange for the donation company to come pick it up and take care of it. I also have people that I reach out to for free things. So if I can't sell it and I can't donate it, let's try to give it away. Let's save the things and give them to people that need them. Let's keep it out of a landfill.
My policy always.
Let's do our best to have it move on for a new life. And then there are some things that obviously, if it's broken, it's cracked, it's very well loved, then that does meet its demise with junk removal. But I do like to emphasize, it's about the goal. And if you're looking for a company that's goal is to do an estate sale only, then maybe Caring Transitions isn't the best fit, but it's one of our tools.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. You do many things to reach a goal.
Correct.
Your job is just not do any one item.
But we're open, we do a la carte.
You do a
We
la
do a la carte.
Correct.
Obviously, we prefer to do it all, but we will do a la carte.
I meant to ask you one question earlier, and that was, do you find a place for people to live if they want to move? We never touched upon that.
That I do not do,
Okay.
but I can point you in the right direction. I know, just like you, we know lots of people in this senior industry.
Right.
So there's a lot of people that I can connect you with to help you find that new home.
It's all about unlocking senior resources.
Correct. That is absolutely correct.
Perfect.
It's a small community. Even it's a large community, but at the same time small.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much for joining today.
Thank you, Larry. I appreciate it. It was fun to be on this today.
Thank you again. Bye-bye now.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Unlocking Senior Resources podcast by Leave the Key. If you've enjoyed this episode or found it helpful, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share this podcast. We specialize in working with seniors who are transitioning out of their homes, and we understand what you are going through. So if you are considering selling your home and would like an alternative to the traditional overwhelming process, reach out to see how we can help. When working with us, you can sell your home in its current condition, there is no need to remove unwanted items, and you control when the house is sold, along with so many other advantages. Visit leavethekey.com or call us at 631-388-7771 to learn more about our senior home buying process.